Hey guys, so today is actually my birthday. So if you remember lockdown last year, I was just had just finished prep, whereas this one I am properly in prep. But nothing much is happening this time either. Last year I wanted to go to Vienna and go to Das Gym, and that would actually be more likely this year, but still not possible. And it's my 31st, so it's not as big a deal anyway. But one birthday I will make that happen, or not even a birthday, I'll just make that happen. But the only thing happening today is Ada keeps just jumping up at me. But always have to get my vlogs, don't you, Ada? Is that right? It's because I've got some food here, which is why I'm vlogging right now. Because, let's go over it. So here is a bowl of just mixed stuff. I've got some kimchi in here, which you probably can't see, but I've got some kimchi in there. I've got some salsa, which is an amazing diet hack food. It's brilliant. See, here she is. What are you sniffing? I've got some carrots in there. I've got some chickpeas in there actually, because I had half a tin of chickpeas, and then I've got a tin of tuna. And I'm having this post my second training session. And Ada would love some. And the reason I have this, I wouldn't normally have this much veggies and this much volume at this point, is because for dinner, you may or may not know that for me, it's a tradition to have pizza. It's not really a tradition, but I actually do basically always have pizza on my birthday. I think we had Domino's last year, maybe? I'm not sure, I can't remember what we had. It might have been Pizza Hut. But whatever it was pizza. So yeah, having this now, I'll show you it. It's not a Domino's, it's not takeaway. It is like homemade, but it's a little bit more precise than that because it's from the supermarket. Supermarket bought, and I'm like putting my cheese on. Just bought a base, gonna put the cheese on, and yeah, unfortunately, that's what it entails for prep, but that's fine. So yeah, different people, I guess, will have different approaches for this, and it depends kind of on their preferences. How serious they are with their goals and stuff, but I'm in like prep. I don't have time to lose, so I can't make this like a refeed. I'm also only just 2.5 weeks into my diet as it is, so it's not like I can even say like, oh yeah, refeed makes sense here. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm not worried about the time. For me, it's more important, and for my birthday, and it's like what I want is to be on point with my goals. So very happy to do that. Finish work a little bit earlier, chill out in the evening with Charlotte, watch some good TV. Not sure what, but it'll be nice. And that's really all my birthday has been, like just a normal day for me. And it's nice, like talking to people, catching up. But yeah, it's not a huge one either. I'm 31, so. So we're in the kitchen, obviously, and this is what I'm planning to have. So I've got, this is great. If you're in the UK, these pizza bases. So you know I like my pizza, and this is a wood fire sourdough base by Crosta Molica. And these are like legit bases. You see this one here, like it legitimately looks like that. And they're pretty tasty. It's not as good as going to a restaurant, mind you. I'm having half of this, and that's 282 calories, 5 fats. The rest is like carbs. It doesn't tell me, it tells you on the back here. So it's not bad at all, and obviously you have to add your own toppings. I don't know if Charlotte just whispered something. What did you say?
Plus your toppings.
Plus your toppings, so yeah, I mean, it's gonna be like 280 calories, and then I'm having cheese. So the cheese I'm having, you can actually get less fat than this. This is 30% reduced fat, but I tend to save most of my fats for the evening anyway. And I actually struggle to hit like my 60 grams of fat, which is my lower end target at the moment, without like going out of my way to have like nuts or adding avocado in or having nut butter. So I have plenty of room for the fats that that's going to contain. But cheese, like lower fat cheeses, I used to have that a lot on my first prep, like 50% reduced fat cheese. I used to use that a lot because cheese is tasty. I actually don't think it's probably the best dieting food though in general, even if it's 50% reduced fat. You can even get the lean cheese now, can't you? Like the protein cheeses, but they really suck. I'm sure they get better, but they're probably like a step above vegan cheese. I've heard vegan cheese is pretty bad, but the protein cheese doesn't really melt very well. So yeah, I don't tend to go for that, and it's really hard. Whereas this is like, it's a bit creamy. I think you need that fat. So this should be good. And I'm also having some egg whites with this because I need the protein. So I have that on the side. I've already had a bunch of veggies, as you saw in my previous meal, which is actually all the veg I'll have today. I don't need any more. My fiber's been up at like 40 to 50 grams anyway. So yeah, I'll be having this for dinner. Today I trained legs, which was awesome. Really enjoyed this leg session actually. The other leg session is a little bit torturous. This one was really challenging though. And yeah, I'll talk through kind of why it was challenging and some of the things that have changed since I've been cutting with training. I'll do a bit of an overview. I have some footage from this session coming in. So everything that you see here is going to be taken to about 2 RAR. In reality, I don't necessarily target a specific RAR past week 1. Week 1, I tend to go for a 3 to 2, a 4, 3 to 4 RAR. Closer to a 3 on the isolation lifts, closer to a 4 on the bigger compound lifts, generally. That's the way I like to go. Through lots of experience, I know where that is. And then every week, I just look to beat it by a small amount of load or an extra repetition. That's essentially what I'm trying to do. So what you see here are sets that are likely taken to about a 2 RAR for pretty much everything across the board that you will see here. So I start with the leg curls. At the moment, I'm doing my AM session full legs so that my PM session is like much easier. As I get deeper into prep, I might decide to split up my leg training. So I have like an AM quad session, PM hamstrings, because it is starting to get quite challenging. But as long as I make one of these things much easier this day, the session seems to go quite well. So for example, here I'm doing the leg curls, which are far easier than doing like a big compound RDL movement. So I start with my leg curls. Essentially that's because after I've done my big compound quad work, I'm just pretty gassed, and so my leg curls aren't going to go so good. Whereas the leg curls doing before these other movements, I'm pretty good to get into my quad work, and there's very minimal hamstring involvement in any of my quad work that I'm doing here. So that's why I'm doing those first. So these leg curls are feeling absolutely freaking great. I did 4 sets. Started the mesocycle with 2 sets. I went to with 3 sets. I went to 4 sets last week, and that got me really sore, and I had overlapping soreness coming into my next session for my hamstrings. So what I've done here is just repeat. I've done 4 sets again. I imagine I'll have adapted a little bit, so this won't be getting me quite as sore. So that's kind of how I want it to be. And you'll see here that I lean forward, and I've spoken about this before. I lean forward like this to basically as if I'm touching my toes at the top, and this just gets a bigger stretch for the hamstrings. And I find it to give me a better SFR as well, and actually it locks me in pretty well when I lean forward like this, rather than kind of sitting back and pushing the pad down at my knees. I'm not saying it's better, I'm not saying this is how you have to do it, it's just something to try, and I really enjoy it. So I did 4 sets of these, and then I go in the 15 to 20 rep range, and then I go into my quad work. I did 2 sets of my hack squats, and I just felt completely smashed after the 2 sets. It surprised me. My quads were just, even after 1 set, I was like, wow, the disruption I've got in my quads is big. The pump wasn't huge after that 1 set, but the disruption was big. And I can only really put that down to the fact that I'm using a pretty good amount of load, and maybe I'm slightly overstating or underestimating my RAR, in that I'm potentially closer to failure than I necessarily think I am within these sets. You can have a look at it, see what you think. whether or not I was at 2 RAR. I'm hoping that I'll be able to progress it. I've been progressing it by 5 kilos each week. Given that's a smaller percentage of the overall load that you're going to be doing on a hack squat versus like a bench press, or even more so like dumbbell movements, where if you go up 2 kilos, it's a large percentage of the overall lift that you're going to be doing. But yeah, I felt pretty screwed up simply from doing just 2 sets of these, and then I had 2 sets of split squats, which you also see, which are feeling great as well. So these split squats I'm doing with, they're basically a Smith machine Bulgarian split squat. As you know from home, I was doing dumbbell Bulgarian split squats. What I was finding is that I maxed out basically the dumbbells that I could use in the gym, and I get the extra stability the Smith machine gives, and obviously I don't have the loading issues with the Smith machine. So I've been really enjoying these. Would I typically do a single leg movement as like very often is like one of my core lifts? No, because of kind of takes more time. But the leg press in my gyms are so poor, and those of you who train in the gyms or pure gyms and you only have this like cable horizontal one and then this plate loaded 45-degree one, neither of them are particularly good, and to get them to be good you have to really kind of MacGyver them. You have to put lots of like plates behind it, and yeah, I just wasn't up for that. Maybe I'll try it again in future. I always seem to go back to them like a bad relationship. You like go back to it and you think it's all good, and then you're like actually disappointed that it isn't any good. So we'll see, but these are working really well for me. The reason I have a plate down is because these floors in the gym are soft, and so this gives me extra stability. That's the only reason for it. For these, I'm trying to get as far my knee forward as possible, so knee flexion to really smash the quad. I get a good amount of glute from these as well, which is fine with me, but it's mostly quad that I'm trying to train here. So you see that I really try and stay on top of my my foot and really just emphasize knee forward flexion, and yeah, they've been feeling great. So that's how some of my training's been going, birthday training if you will. Yeah, I guess one thing I wanted to say is the small amount of volume that I'm able to recover from. I'm shocked that this amount of volume is actually giving me a great pump and disruption, probably helped from the active recovery phase, but also just physically, because of being in big deficit, your recoverability comes down, and I'm noticing that. So I was just thinking about something. I went, had a shower after I'd recorded that, and I've come back and realized there's something I really wanted to touch on that I think is important, is just the importance of auto-regulating your training volume. I think that's so important and so underrated by a lot of people, in that if you just have a set program, you have a set number of sets, you just do this number of volume, this amount of volume, whatever it is, like 15 sets per muscle group per week or something. Individual muscle groups' volume requirements are going to differ, and at different times, depending on what nutritional phase you're in, the amount of volume that you're going to be able to recover from and benefit from is also going to differ. So during this cutting phase, I'm in a big calorie deficit, like 1,000 calorie deficit, right? I've lost pounds on each week. There's no way I'm going to have the kind of the glycogen available and that preparedness that I'd normally have when I'm massing, and that recovery ability. So my MRV, the max recovery volume, is definitely going to come down, and so the amount of volume that I'm going to be able to progress with, this window between kind of your minimum effective volume for muscle growth to your maximum, maybe in an off season is like this big, but during a cutting phase, this is shrinking, especially if you consider your MEV, your minimum effective volume might come up as you need to provide even more of a training dose because you haven't got that kind of anabolism coming from the calorie surplus. So you just won't be able to add sets as rapidly. So when I went into this leg session today, my quads have been recovering on time. They haven't been getting crazy sore, anything like this. But so I came into the session thinking, I've got 4 sets. I did 4 sets last week. Maybe I'll do 5 sets. I did my 4 sets, or I did my 2 sets of hacks, and I was like, after 2 more sets of split squats, my quads are going to be done. And they were done. And I think it's just important during a cutting phase, where in a mass phase you might have been a bit pushy with your volume, like if I'm not too sure if I am definitely going to be able to recover from this, I'll do it just anyway, because you have the calories to spare and your recovery is even better. But I just think it's better to be a little bit more cautious always during a cut phase, and this is the best I've been at that so far. So I'm really pleased with how everything is going. And yeah, next up, I guess, is going to be some pizza. You'll be able to see that, but I appreciate you all for tuning in, checking out these vlogs every time. Thank you for everyone that wished me a happy birthday. I'm sure some of you watching this will have wished me a happy birthday. I highly appreciate it. It's just super rewarding to be able to produce this content, see it as being valuable to people, and people getting motivation, inspiration, or knowledge, or just entertainment from these things. So I appreciate you a lot. As always, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It's my birthday, so you better do all of that. I appreciate you. Take care. Catch you in the next one.